and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to do summer doodles, simple ones that everyone could do from beginner to advanced, whether you want to learn how to sketch, draw and paint, or you just want to relax from your complicated art and try something easy. I'll be showing you the basics, whether that's watercolour or that is just generally sketching out your small doodles. I hope you like it, and if you do, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you want to see more doodles, or you want to see this turn into stickers, or if you just want to see my content. Have a lovely day and let's move on.
Hey, it's voiceover for me. So when I drew this, I decided to use a HB pencil, a gel pens, a rubber and watercolour. I got that from Amazon. If you want to, I can put it in the description below. So when I drew the summer, I tried to mimic the way the brush pen works, using the thick and thin lines, the variation between the two. And I made sure that when you write in cursive, the motion when you go down, the down motion is thicker than the up motion, if you see what I mean. I shaded it in first. So first I drew in where the thick lines would be, and then like planning it out as it. And then I coloured it in, which gives it a nice look, like it's done with a professional gel pen, I think. I've written time, but making sure it's simple so it doesn't outshine the word summer. I'm really annoyed with the sun, like it's so uneven. I'm screaming at myself right now. So yeah, I drew in the sun, adding in the rays, to make it look interesting. The title, this could help you with a lot of things if you want to write the subjects in school. So the first doodle is the summer lollipop. So I didn't like how it was, so I tried to draw the structure using a rectangle. This really helps. If you're a beginner, you can just sketch out the simple shapes. I then added the drips to look like it's melting, and I made sure it looked kind of realistic. And if you see what I did, I put it under the sun, so it looks like it's melting because of the heat. Just thought I'd point that out. And yeah, adding the drips over with a gel pen. A gel pen's very helpful because when you go over with watercolour, it doesn't get smudged. It doesn't the pigment doesn't change, and the black doesn't change much. Yeah, you kind of have to go over on top, but that's fine. The next doodle is the coconut, and I added in the straw to make it look like someone was drinking from it. The milk was spilling out to emphasize there is milk in there, the coconut milk. And I added in the cracks to show that it's been cut. These small details help portray a story, even if it's just a doodle. I went over it in gel pen, going over the cracks and the milk, as well as the shape of the actual coconut. When I drew in the water, I forgot to add the highlights until right at the end. I made sure to put all the details of the straw, and the hair, I put more hair than I did with my pencil sketch, because I wanted to emphasize, it is like a proper coconut. It's not like those bowls, like those ice cream bowls that people drink in. So yeah, and I've realized over the years I've been drawing, I've developed a style where I know hatching is like a known thing, but I do it so stylistically in my drawings. In loads of my drawings, I do just stylistic hatching. So if you want to, you can do that as well, or just follow your own style. That's absolutely fine. This tutorial is just to help. This is now I'm drawing the sun cream, and this, I didn't particularly like this one, but it turned out okay, it turned out okay. So I drew in the sun, and the structure of the what's it called, the sun cream. I could have done the rectangle, how I did the ice cream. I drew the structure of it. I could have drawn a triangle. That would have been much easier, but I wasn't thinking like that at the moment. So I added the inscription to show that it's sun cream. It's like a company. Drawing in the cap and the hatching again, the stylistic hatching. And yeah, that's the sun cream over and done with. Next, I was going to draw a flower in this video, but I thought loads of people know how to do that. I think, like the simple ones. So the next one, this is a beach ball. This beach ball is very simple. It's just you draw a circle and then a smaller circle on top, and then from that circle you draw lines coming out from it. I went over in gel pen again, making sure all the lines were crisp, so if I went over it in watercolour it wouldn't look like hazy, if you know what I mean. And so I can give it a nice cartoonistic look. I should have added a shadow on that beach ball to give it more, detail, but yeah. Next, I drew the seashell because me and my siblings in summer, when we go to the beach on holiday, we always collected seashells. So this kind of looks like a fossil, it's more like a fossil than a seashell, but I drew in a spiral, almost like a snail. It's like those snail shell, and I added the detail to show it is a seashell. It's not a fossil or anything. Next, I drew in the watermelon because my family love watermelon, and so this is like a semicircle. It's almost like those cartoon smiles. And then I drew more lines inside of it, and then added the leaves. They're like raindrops, and then smaller dots next to them. Next is the flower I was told you about, but I thought, nah, I shouldn't do that. So next is the barbecue stick. My family because we're Muslims, we celebrate Eid, and we always have a barbecue. It's amazing. It's so much fun. So I drew in the small beef and the vegetables, and I drew a line in the middle to know where the stick is going to go through. So I had the basic idea of what it's going to look like. I went over that in gel pen, and I had no idea which one's going to be the beef and the vegetable. I just drew random lines and blobs just to give the idea that it's food, it's barbecue stick. It's kind of obvious that it is a bit. And I then drew, those lifesaver things that in the boats you throw it into the sea and then they catch you with it. I have no idea what it's called. If you can, tell me in the comments below. I don't know what it's called. So I drew in the red and white stripes and making sure it follows the shape and the contour of the actual ring. There we go, ring. It's a ring, and beginners seem to make a mistake that instead of drawing the curve, they draw a straight line. That's the mistake that you want to avoid to make your drawing actually semi-realistic. You want to make it curved so it looks like it's actually on the object instead of a random stick which has been thrown on the ring. So the next is the sunglasses. Again, I drew the guidelines to get the sunglasses look, next to each other, not one on top of the other. I then added the reflection, go over that in gel pen, going over and making I shouldn't have done this now looking at it, but what I did is that I didn't make sure that the distance between the actual glasses and the rim of the sunglasses weren't equal, but oh well. Now I'm popping out my watercolour and just getting a nice wash. Like a technique I use, I layer quite a lot. Not in this doodle because there's not a lot of layering involved, but in my botanical doodles, botanical drawings, you can check that out on my Instagram, Mary4Art. And I use a nice wash, a light wash, very diluted watercolour, just to get that basic colour down. And at first I thought, okay, well, let's do all the washes on the doodles first, but then afterwards I just wanted to add detail on all of them, and I was waiting for the ice dolly to dry so I can move on to that. So the coconut, I got a very, very diluted brown, and I just washed that over. And the behind the water there's a bit of a shadow in there, so I made that a little less diluted so I can get in the shadow so the hatching actually works. Then I moved on to the actual water and the straw. So the straw, I made it blue. I should have made it a different colour because the water has not the reflections, but just to show that it's water, I added a little bit of blue. again, with the sun cream, I also went over a light diluted wash. You can see when I was mixing in the orange, I put a lot of water on it just to get the colour down. And then afterwards, once it dried, I added the darker orange onto the places that I put the hatching on there. Then I saw the sun on the summertime. This is kind of like, it's not really very ordered, is it? I should have planned it out more before, but oh well, it's what we have. So I added in the rays to give it that, you know, cartoon look again. I remember seeing this somewhere in my childhood cartoons, and so yeah, that's kind of influenced on that as well. I decided to make it look like the sun rays is actually going out, not like stopping. So to give it that, you know, light illusion. It's not much of illusion, it's cartoon, but you see what I mean. For the beach ball, I didn't bother much about adding a wash. Like, yeah, I diluted the colour, but I didn't bother too much about putting a wash on there, and I didn't worry too much about the colour palette either, only because it's a beach ball and it's like loads of different types of beach balls and not like one specific type. And also because it was actually quite fun just letting the colours like choose for themselves, if you see what I mean. Yeah, I added an orange. There's no specific colour palette again. And I got this is quite a good technique to learn. I got a brush, like a dry brush, like new brush, and if, let's say, I put too much water onto that, onto the doodle, then I got a dry brush and picked up the water, like the excess water, and you see me there. When I did the blue, it accidentally got mixed in with the orange, so I always keep a tissue next to me, just so I can, like, if I make a mistake, I can just dab it on, if you see what I mean. I moved on to the watermelon, so again, not worrying too much about the wash. If I made a mistake, I just quickly picked it up with the tissue, like I dabbed it on. There was a lot of water into that green, so it didn't show up too much when I dabbed it off, which was quite helpful. Again, going over the watermelon, like the actual melon of the fruit, and again using the dry brush technique to pick up any leftover water is quite helpful. And then this one didn't require much. I added some shadow into the ring, if you can see, only because I thought it was missing detail, and I used the red. The red is quite like the darker at the back, and I should have left the first red diluted, but you know, oh well. And then moving on to the kebab, making sure the brown is like very brown to represent the meat, and I put too much like pigment watercolour on there instead of water, so I got a brush and using the dry brush technique again, dipping it into water and then smudging the watercolour around, putting in the fruits. I don't know what fruits these are, probably lettuce and tomatoes. I had no idea what these were. I just decided, well, there's some sort of vegetable there, so I might as well put that in there. Again, I use a tissue to dab off the excess water and put in, I think that's a tomato. Yeah, it's probably a tomato there. So that's the kebab, and well, I did draw in the stick, but it wasn't really that important because it didn't seem to show up much. But I think overall, the lollipop, the coconut and the kebab are my favourite doodles I've done today. So yeah. Then I moved back to the seashell. I don't know why I did that. I didn't do that after the beach ball. So I got a nice yellow ochre, diluted that again, and just painted over there. That's very simple. There's not much needed for that. For the sunglasses, no reason why they're blue, for one. And I saw the mistake that I did, that I didn't make the distance between the glass and the rim equal, so I decided to go over that. Yeah, a little bit cheeky there, but it seemed to turn out fine. and I went over that in gel pen, I believe. Then I added the shadow to the drips on the ice dolly. I don't know if that's like real, if that actually happens in real life, but we'll just roll with the punches. So to give it that shadow look, I draw in the shadow, and then I get a clean brush, wet it, and then I smear it out so it looks more realistic in a way. And I wanted to emphasize the drips, the fact that it's melting, so I made that much darker than the actual ice cream itself. Again, probably not going to happen in real life, but I mean, these are just doodles. We're just here to relax and enjoy art for what it is, and letting our hands do all the work. So I added more drips only to again emphasize that it's melting. For me, emphasis on the storyline is quite important when I'm drawing, only because I want to give it like a background to make it more interesting for the viewer, I guess. For the viewer to see that, okay, it's dripping. Why is it dripping? Maybe because the person left it on the ground. You know, give it that imagination, because I love imagination. Like, imagination is what gets me through the day. It's like I can't get on a bus without thinking about flying penguins or something. So I added the shadow on the coconut. Again, the lighting isn't perfect. The anatomy of the coconut, you can say, isn't perfect, but you know, it's a doodle. Just making sure when you draw this, don't worry about if it's perfect or not. It's just a doodle. It's just something to say, you know, something you can do creative. It's let your creativity flow, I guess. Don't worry too much if it's not perfect. No one's perfect. Yeah. So I added in the shadow of the beach ball to give it some detail, and using the tissue to dab off the watercolour, because I overloaded the red, I think. So I wanted to, you know, get rid of that. I wasn't bothered to use my tissue, so I used my finger to dab off the smudge between the red and the blue. I actually like the way that the shadow looks in this one, and then I developed the colour by going over it with watercolour again, but with a less diluted pigment, a more saturated, concentrated one, if that makes sense. So I wanted to add the shadow to the coconut only because I put the cross hatching at the bottom of the coconut, so I added the shadow. As you can see, as I said before, I added the shadow also to the sun cream, using a darker orange. I also I think I added a little bit of brown in there, just so I can get like the perfect darkness. Again, added shadows, and I think I added shadows on all of them. Yeah, the lollipop is floating. The lollipop, yeah, it's floating, but why not? We can have floating lollipops in our sketchbooks. Why not? I added the shadow also on the seashell, and I don't believe I added a shadow for the watermelon. Oh, yes, I did. I did add a shadow. Again, these shadows, for me, these shadows are quite helpful, again, to give a storyline. We've got a floating kebab. Again, imagination. When you're drawing these doodles and you draw your own doodles, hopefully you'll move on to doing that after you've watched this video. So when you move on to draw your own doodles, make sure you don't worry too much about the details and stuff, but me being a perfectionist, I add the details anyway. So I added the shadow on the ring to give it a little more dimension and 3D you know, look to it. Again, adding the shadow. I should have added a shadow in the inside of the ring, again, just to emphasize that it's a 3D object. And I don't know what I'm mixing. Oh, and I'm adding the, you know, the dashes on the seashell, just adding that in. It's quite like disoriented, this video, only because it's like my very first one. But if you followed it through this video, that is awesome. Well done to you. I added the reflections to the sunglasses just to give it, you know, show the viewer that it is glass. and not some random paper in there. Then I'm mixing some brown, some dark brown, just to add in the hairs of the coconut, give it like a more detailed view of the hair, adding lots more hairs than I initially first put on. It's quite hairy actually. It's not as hairy as I'd like it now, looking at it now, but it is obvious that it's a coconut, it's got hair on it, and adding more dark brown to the background, like the back of the water when it's spilling. So that is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to give this video a like and subscribe, that's absolutely fine. If not, you're all awesome anyway. See you later and bye!